So remove the relationship that you are currently involved with. Remove the analyzing, remove the mind games, remove the texting, remove all of that. When that relationship is not there, what are you doing with your time? If you do not have an immediate answer, then the relationship is not the problem. The life that you're living is the problem. The relationship has just been a cover for the gap that is missing in your life. So let's get into the neuroscience. So think of your brain as having an internal bank account. It needs regular deposits of self-generated reward. But the thing about reward is that it can come from very unhealthy places. Like the feeling of being chosen can offer a dopamine hit. When you get a text notification from the person that you like, it can offer a dopamine hit. When you get a call from the person that you like, it can offer a dopamine hit. But the thing about these kinds of dopamine hits is that they're not coming from you. They need an external source. And the kind of dopamine that you can create comes from hobbies and play and trying new things and learning about yourself. It comes from mastery, trying to learn a skill, building your talent, sucking at something and then being good at it later. So that dopamine hit, neuroscientists call that the dopamine of effort. And a person who has that source that regularly deposits dopamine of effort, when they enter a relationship, they enter a relationship with a full dopamine bank account. And a person who doesn't have that, when they enter a relationship, they enter that relationship with nothing. And that empty bank account, it's going to need external sources of dopamine. And the nearest available source of dopamine is going to be the person that they like or they are obsessed with. And that is not love. That is not a crush. That is a transfer of dependency, something that you could have been doing for yourself. You have given another person the responsibility to do it for you. And that person at the receiving end is going to feel the weight of it. Even if they don't have the language to describe what it is that they're feeling, they are definitely going to feel that pull that would be coming from you. Now we want to get deeper into the science, okay? So in the 1950s, there's a scientist called Harry Harlow, and he took monkeys and he separated the baby monkeys from the mother monkeys, and he gave the baby monkeys two surrogates. The one surrogate was one that was made with wire and it was connected to food, and then the other surrogate was connected to cloth and it didn't have food. And what was interesting is that even though the wire was connected to food and the cloth was not connected to food, the baby monkeys kept going to the cloth. Even when they were hungry, they would go back to the wire, get their food, but they'll always go back to the cloth. What the scientists realized is that what the monkeys needed was not the resource of food. They just wanted to be close to something soft. They wanted the feeling of being held, and the cloth was the closest thing that resembled being held. And a person who does not have hobbies is running the same experiment. They have the wire mother, which is like the job, the responsibilities of life, the admin of life. And then they have the cloth, which is the relationship. And they cling to the relationship the way those baby monkeys clung to the cloth. And not because the cloth is feeding them. It's because the cloth is the closest thing that feels like being held. Guys, I'm on holiday and I'm busy recording content. If you could only see the view that I'm looking at right now. Anyway, so let's get into what is a hobby. A true hobby is not something that you do as a pastime. I'm not talking about when you knit a scarf once a year. I'm talking about the thing that makes you forget your phone for hours, time and time again. Something that makes you dive deep into the zone. Neuroscience calls it flow state. Something that makes you connect with the divine. This scientist, I'm just gonna put his name up here because what is their name? So what he found is that the neurochemical cocktail that is produced by a person who is in flow state is so potent and so complete that the brain does not need external validation in order to feel whole. That act of being in flow state is the practice of being whole. And the person who can access that state regularly through creativity, through music, through building, through sports, through anything that demands their full capacity is a person whose internal bank account is self-sustaining. They do not need a relationship to complete them. They bring completion into a relationship. And that is a difference between a relationship that exhausts a person and a relationship that expands a person. Now, I want you to think about the most magnetic people that you've ever met. The ones that something about them made you want to be near them and you didn't understand why. 9 times out of 10, the most magnetic people have something that they can fully absorb themselves into. Either they have a talent, either they have a skill that maybe they've mastered, but every now and again they tap into that flow state and form a relationship with that part of themselves. And that is why celebrities are so magnetic and we can't get enough of them. They have to enter flow state in order to give us their creative goods. And that magnetism that you are feeling when you meet somebody who taps into the flow state regularly is a taste of experiencing what a full person feels like. Because there are a lot of people who are walking around and they are not full people. There are a lot of people who are waiting for other people to complete them. And I don't think that's very attractive. It can be so easy, especially when you're dating or you're in the talking stage or whatever, to find yourself in a space of obsession where you're waiting for a text to arrive, where you are overthinking. That uncertainty of the relationship, that worry of whether that person feels the same way that you feel, produces the same neurological response as a slot machine. It's the same psychological trick that makes you consistently pull the lever, because not knowing is more psychologically compelling than knowing. The brain does not crave the person, the brain craves the resolution to the uncertainty. And when the relationship subsides, or when you get back that text, that loop quietens down. Because this is a pattern of addiction, a person who hasn't resolved that need for dopamine, when a person comes into their life and they are calm and they're peaceful, that other person is going to seem very boring because they don't trigger that up and down of dopamine hits in the brain. And the relationship seems boring because the void that was never addressed is still there. And the relationship, or whatever the dynamic situationship, was just a band-aid that was covering it. So guys, I keep dropping gems. Please subscribe. This channel is about helping us to become as whole as possible so that we don't use other people as drugs. This obsession is not coming from a good place. It's coming from an empty place. It can feel romantic from the inside, but from the outside, from the person who's being dependent on to fill this hole, it feels very heavy. When the other person becomes a very heavy source of external validation, it can become very exhausting. Instead of becoming a partner that can love you and you can have fun with, they start now becoming a partner who has to manage your insecurity and your validations. And this is something that you have to be managing yourself. They're busy managing withdrawal symptoms that you are having because your dopamine system is not filled with healthy forms of validation. The partner who needs reassurance every single hour is just not fun to deal with. Yeah, they can be insecure, but in the root of it, it just means that that internal bank account that they have, it's not being filled with anything else but this relationship. And what is so sad is that the partner that you started off liking, you end up resenting because it seems like they are not giving you enough attention and they're not giving you enough validation. Unless you are filling up that cup of validation yourself, your cup is going to have holes. So that person's validations, they're never going to feel like they're enough. Because why? That validation is not coming from you. No single person can be enough for a person's nervous system that has outsourced all of its validation to one source. It's not fair. The most loving thing that you can do for a relationship is to need it less, to walk into it with a full life and offer presence instead of the need for completion. And this is not you being nonchalant or anything. This is a genuine requirement for love. The genuine requirement for love is to have complete self-love. One thing about the brain, it doesn't just want fun. It wants to be challenged. It wants to be stimulated in specific ways that make you find yourself. Your brain craves that version of you that appears when things become challenging. That is why the first step is to find the hard thing, not the comfortable hobby, not matcha and Pilates. Like, find the hard thing, something that you genuinely want to explore and dominate. Find that thing, not the thing that you're already good at, the thing that sits at the edge of your current capacity. Find what that thing is. Find the instrument that you cannot play yet. Find the language that you cannot speak yet. Find the physical skill that your body hasn't learned yet. For a brain to be in flow, it requires a challenge. It is not enough for the thing just to be fun, because comfort is just stimulation. But challenge produces transformation. The difficulty is the point. Find that difficult thing, protect the time that is allocated to it. The relationship that makes you give up that thing is a relationship you need to be careful about. And you need to understand or notice when one thing is starting to encroach on the other. You need to be protective of the thing that challenges you enough to enter flow state, so that the next time you feel like reaching for your phone to check if somebody has texted you, instead of doing that, choose to be absorbed in something that makes you better. The thing about that void that I mentioned at the beginning of the video is that that void, if it's left empty, will lead to an obsession. And it's either you're going to be obsessed about the relationship or you're going to be obsessed about yourself. So it is your job to notice that void and to find a very challenging, very fun, very stimulating activity that will help you to learn something about yourself. So the void is not a character flaw, okay? That little empty space is just a notification that's saying, hey, instead of waiting somebody to love you here, how about you love yourself here? And how about you maybe find that love through an activity? Or if you're really strong, you can just find that love just by living life. But activities are just things that I love. I love hobbies because they can make you learn something about yourself that nothing else could ever do. And it is your responsibility to build that source of love. And the most fun way to build that source of love and internal validation is by having fantastic hobbies, not to become less loving, so that your life is full and fun and rich and stimulating and captivating, so that you are capable to give love, to give the kind of love that is full, the kind of love that makes the other person feel chosen, because there is a difference, and that difference is everything.